So Tim Bradley recently commented that this Fundora fight for Keith Thurman could potentially be a last stand for Keith Thurman, and he sees one of two potential outcomes. Either, you know, Keith Thurman wins and has like a huge career revival and, re-establishes himself at the world level at 154, or he loses to Fundora in terrorising fashion and Fundora just bullies him, but beats the brakes off of him, and then he retires. Because after that, like, this Fundora fight was really the biggest fight he could have got. The thing is, I think the Tim Tszyu and Keith Thurman fight, I think both guys are too far past their primes at this point, but that in and of itself makes it an interesting fight. It being two guys that were at one point world level at their respective weight classes. Tim Tszyu at one time was world level at 154. Keith Thurman was world level at 147. Right, it's something that, in my opinion, there is still an interesting fight. And I'm surprised. I don't think there's gigantic money behind it at this point, but there'd still be some decent money for it. Surely, you think it'd be the sort of money that's worth getting out of bed for both guys. But other than that, that would really be it then. That would really, really be it. And realistically, I could even see a world where Keith Thurman, after this Fundora fight, if he was to lose, he wouldn't even want to box at Tim Tszyu. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, he'd probably just maybe lose the love for the sport. Maybe feel like, yeah, this is a good level to sort of bow out at and retire. Where, it gets to a point where he's not so far removed from his prime that he becomes like a parody of himself, which definitely was the fear for Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao proved a lot of doubt was wrong with that performance against Barrios, but you know what I mean? Like, there was risk there for Pacquiao to become like a parody of himself. He didn't, but a lot of boxers do. It happens to a lot of boxers that stick around for far too long, right? And I don't want Keith Thurman to become that. And I think if he was to lose to Fundora, like I said, in a terrorising bad fashion, then that's what I'd want to see from him, like sort of retire. But because I think realistically that probably is the most likely option, because I don't see Keith Thurman. I could see Keith Thurman getting a win, because at the end of the day, Fundora is hittable, despite him being so tall. And stylistically, you would think this guy should be damn near impossible to land clean on. He's very hittable. And Keith Thurman, in that fight against Brock Jarvis, he showed, if anything, he's still got speed, he's still got power. Still got power. But, of course, Brock Jarvis is a guy who was a lot smaller than Keith Thurman, and I think started his career at like 126. Obviously, as he ages up and, gets older, and, do you know what I mean, he'll fill out in his body pores, but still. Do you know what I mean? Keith Thurman never fought at 126 as a pro. But yeah, Keith Thurman showed some promise in that fight, but we'll see if he can sort of land those big shots on Fundora. I kind of do see it. I kind of see him being able to land those big shots on Fundora, but Fundora can take a shot, bro. Like, Fundora was taking Tim Tszyu's best shots. Like, when Tim Tszyu was, on the backhand and he's throwing, he's trying to knock Fundora out, because it got to a point where Tim Tszyu was badly hurt. He knew he wasn't going to win this fight by a decision, so he was going all out to try and get Fundora's respect, and he couldn't do it. And Tim Tszyu, in his prime, was regarded as a puncher at 154. Not one-touch death, but a guy who you're not walking through his shots. Right? And he couldn't even, really cause Fundora trouble. Right? But yeah, I could potentially see this becoming a last stand for Keith Thurman. And if it is, it's a good way to go out, for being honest. He'd end his career with 2 losses, Pacquiao and Fundora. That's not too bad. That's not too bad in my opinion. But yeah, we'll find out. I'll be curious to know what you guys think of this fight. Do you think, like I said, this could be a last stand for Fundora? Fundora. It's not going to be a last stand for Fundora. Do you think it could be a last stand for Keith Thurman, is what I meant to say. A last stand for Keith Thurman. And if not, let me know what you think of the fight and how you think the fight's going to go. But yeah, another episode of the Seth Solo Cyclist in the bag, and I'm out. Peace.